David's brothers know.
Well, David know.
Yeah. And it seems that nobody else knows. Now, then we had the story of the Goliath, who was a giant, who was a Philistine soldier, and he challenged the Jews to a duel between him and who they would pick. And eventually David comes out defenseless, is that the word, without any weapons, and he kills him miraculously with a slingshot. David then becomes a general in Shaul's army, which he was not before that. Before that, he was just a shepherd, although Shaul already knew him, as he used to play the harp for him. And eventually he marries Shaul's daughter, and David becomes very popular. David's popularity causes Shaul concern, because Shaul knows that he's losing the kingdom to somebody, and David's very, very popular, so it could very well be that he's the person. And he sees him as a challenge, and because he sees him as a challenge, he sees everything that David does negatively. David's popularity is seen in everything, and the comments of the people are seen.
He also has the bad spirit.
Yes, he also has, correct, he has what we call a melancholy bad spirit that God put on him, and that causes him every so often to go into a paranoia. Right.
Blind read.
And he's tried several times to kill David with his spear, because David used to be in the house, of course, because he played the harp for him. He also was his son-in-law. And eventually David realizes that there's no choice but to run away. And that's where we got up to. Okay? Even still, he thought maybe there's a chance. And Jonathan, we didn't mention, Jonathan is Shaul's son, and he is David's best friend. And they've made a pact to look after each other. If anything happens to them, they'll look after each other's family forever. So they're very, very close friends, although Jonathan understands that he's losing the kingdom to his best friend, to David. Okay, so now, just in the last chapter 20, he said goodbye to each other, the whole story with the arrows.
That he's going to be king?
No, but
they
assume. It's clear that Jonathan understands that from the conversation. Okay, so David's now on the run, an outlaw. Okay, basically, like Robin Hood. You heard of Robin Hood? In Sherwood Forest, in Nottingham. Okay. So that's what David's now on the road. A very, very fascinating story here, chapter 21. Vayakom. So we'll go slowly through the words and translate. Vayakom, and he got up. Means he just embraced Jonathan, and they both were crying their eyes out at their having to say goodbye to each other, possibly forever, never see each other again. Right? And so David's on his own with nothing. Right? And he can't go back home to get his weapons or his clothes or his tefillin or his food, nothing. He's on his own. Because if he goes home, he's going into the city and then Shaul's men will catch him. Vayakom, and he got up. Vayelach, and he went. Means he left. But Jonathan Baha'ir, he came to the city. Means he went. They had met out in the field. That was where they'd met, so Jonathan gave him the message. It's clear, my father wants to kill you. I agree. David had told him his suspicions. Jonathan wanted to verify that. They went to the Rosh Chodesh party, and at the Rosh Chodesh party, his father blew up Jonathan. So Jonathan knew that Shaul wanted to kill David, and so Jonathan can go back home, but David has got to flee. Vayavai David noiveh. That means David came. Vayavai, and he came. David came, noiveh. And noiveh means to nov. The hey at the end, a hey is a very, very versatile letter. It has lots of different uses. Right? The most common use of the letter hey is at the beginning, and it means the. Right? HaMelech, the king. Right? HaGodol, the big king. Right? The hey at the beginning usually means the. A hey at the end has two functions. It either turns something into feminine, like par is a bull, para is a cow, sus is a horse, susa is a
female.
Right, a mare, isn't that what it's called?
Mare.
Mare. Okay, so that's how you change something to feminine, putting a hey at the end. But there's another use of the hey at the end, which is to be the directional hey, as if it has a lamed at the beginning. You can say le charon to charon. You can say charona, and it also means the same thing. Vayelech Yaakov Charana, Yaakov went to Haran. So Rashi says many places in Chumash that a hey at the end is like a lamed at the beginning, so it means to. Some people suggested to me The hey isn't exactly the same as a lamb, because it's hard to believe that Hebrew, which is a divine language, God needs two ways to do the same thing.
Right.
Any language which is made up from different languages, like English is made up from French and German and Scottish and lots of different languages together. Therefore, all the rules get mixed together. But Hebrew, which we believe is a pure language, there's no need to have two ways to do the same thing. So somebody said to me that hey at the end means towards, not
Directly.
and not he actually arrived, right?
He's still doing.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think you have to check that out whether that's really true. Rashi doesn't say that. Rashi says the hey at the end is like a lamb at the beginning, right? So, now, what's in Noiv? Now, I think until this pasuk, we've no idea what's in Noiv. We've never heard of the place, right? Have we heard of Noiv? I don't remember it being mentioned, but it's clear from this pasuk that the Mishkan, which originally was in the desert, right, the dismantleable tabernacle, the Beis Hamikdash, which was dismantled, which had moved from the desert into Eretz Yisrael, was in Gilgal for 14 years, and then was in Shiloh for 369 years, I believe. Okay, a long period. The whole of this period of the Shoftim was then destroyed by the Philistines, and eventually it moved to Noiv. Now we never hear about this move. We just know it from this pasuk. In this pasuk, it says that Mishkan is in Noiv, and at the beginning of Shmuel, the Mishkan was in Shiloh. And we never actually mention in the middle it got destroyed. We know there was attack of the Philistines and they took the ark because the ark was out in battle. It wasn't actually mentioned that the Philistines attacked Shiloh and destroyed it. And I don't even know exactly what happened. The details are not mentioned. All we know is at some point the Mishkan moved from Shiloh to Noiv. It's now in Noiv. So the assumption is at the time when the ark got taken from the battle, at that point the Philistines attacked and destroyed Shiloh and it moved here. Okay. So it's in Noiv. Where is Noiv? I don't know. Do we know where Noiv is? I think so. There is a Noiv in the Golan, but it's not there. That's not what we mean. It's somewhere else. Okay. So he came to Noiv, El Achimelech, to someone called Achimelech. Who was he? He was a Kohen. Achimelech was the Kohen. Presumably it's the name of the Kohen Gadol. Probably, right? It's not just some stamp. Otherwise he would have come to Noiv, not to Achimelech. He came to Noiv, to Achimelech the Kohen. Vayecherad Achimelech Likras David. Now, Vayecherad, we've had this word many times. You probably don't remember what it means, but you are familiar with the word in different contexts. Vayecherad is from the word. Come on, what's the root? Chared, right? Charedi, very good, excellent, exactly. Charedi means to shake, to tremble. That's the word, tremble. Like Yecherad Achimelech, Achimelech trembled. It means that something was obviously up. David was a very, very important figure in the government. He was the king's son-in-law. He was one of the major heads of the army, major general, and it was very, very strange that he was on his own. Right? People like that don't
entourage.
Right, they don't travel on their own. Something must be up. So you can get scared. Maybe there's been a terrible attack and he's run away from the. That's why he's scared. That's why he's shaking. But Yecherad Achimelech, Likras means. Yecherad means to tremble. You see, we use the word in the context of Haredi, meaning super religious, right? But it really doesn't mean that. It really means a person who is always alert that he might be doing something wrong, and that's why he's always worried, or concerned, or shaking, right? Like a Quaker. You know the Quakers? You were familiar with English, right? You know what's his name? What's his name? No, the guy who killed Charles II. What was his name? Cromwell, right? All that chevra were Quakers, right? And Quakers means the same thing. A Quaker is a Christian Haredi. Or what you would say a Haredi is a Jewish Quaker. That's what they are. It's the same word, to quake. Like an earthquake, to shake. It's exactly the same word. But Yecherad Achimelech, you know the picture on the Quaker oats?
Yes.
Yeah, he looks like a Haredi. He's just got a beard. He's got long payers and his funny hat. Okay. But Yecherad Achimelech, I'll tell you what, Israelis call oats kvaka. They call it kvaka. They're not the obvious idea why they call it kvaka. It's kvaka. Kvaka means quaker. You see, in there's no W in Hebrew. The only way to write a W is to put two vavs. But Israelis usually don't pronounce it as a W because there is no W. So they call it kvaka. So oats is called kvaka, even if it's made by a different company. It doesn't have to be only made by Quaker. Oats is now called kvaka. So you ask the Israeli, what's this? It's kvaka. Why? Right? Because in Hebrew it's called kvaka. That's why. But that's the reason.
Wait, hold on. It's like oats, just like
Oats.
the oats you eat, not like the grain oats.
No. The oats is called shibolet shuel. Right. It means the oats that you prepare for breakfast cereal. You just add the hot milk to and it's ready to eat. That's called kvaka. Yeah. Kvaka.
It's like Kleenex. People call tissues.
Right. Or Hoover.
Or like
People
the
call
cotton
it
swabs,
Hoover.
Q-tips.
Yeah. So that's kvaka. It really calls it kvaka. Okay. All right. So that's where. So HaMelech is all scared that David. Likras means towards. Like we say in Lachadodi. Likras kala. We're going towards the bride. We're going towards the Shabbos queen. Okay. So HaMelech is trembling towards David. And he said to him, HaMelech said to David, Madua. Madua means Madua.
Ma what?
Very good. Ma means what? Although ma meaning what? Used as a hey, but the hey's not here. Okay. Ma means what? What dua? Dua. What do you think dua was from? Look at the root. Dua. What's the root of dua? Forget the vowel. The vowel's just a note, just a vowel. Dalad ayin. Dalad ayin means? Come on, da.
Like the house.
Da, right? It's the same word as das. Daya, da.
How did
Knowledge, to know. Ma.
What knowledge you bring me? Or you bring? What news do you bring?
Sort of. The word madua means why. It's why. But now there's two ways to say why in Hebrew. How do you normally say in Hebrew why?
Mine.
Lama.
Oh.
Very good. So now, somebody asked me this about 3 months ago, why are there two ways to say why in Hebrew? Lama and madua. And you'll see the whole time they change from one to the other. You'll see in one passage it says lama, and one passage it says madua. Okay? I guess the difference is as follows. I think it holds out. That madua means what's your opinion. It means when I say why, I can be saying two things. When I say, why did you come late? Right? So I'm expecting an answer. I want you to tell me. Right? So I say madua. If I think that what you're doing is wrong, I say, why don't you sit down? I'm not asking you for an answer. I don't want you to tell me. I want you. It's a way of saying sit down.
Rhetorical
Right?
question.
Sort of. Yeah. Yeah. I think that maybe that's the way to say it. That means when Yisroi, remember Yisroi? He was Moses' father-in-law.
Yeah.
Right? So he asked his daughters, why did they come home early? He uses the word madua. Because they've probably got a good reason. He just wants to know what it is. Right? But when he says, why did you leave Moshe Rabbeinu outside? You know, if he saved you, why did you leave him outside? He doesn't say madua. Because he doesn't want to hear their answer. He knows they don't have an answer. Why did you leave him outside? Means you shouldn't have left him outside, you should have brought him in. So he uses the word lama. You get it? So madua means what's your opinion? Ma das. What's your... I want to know what's your das. Tell me. I'd like the information. I think that's the word madua. Okay. So, madua atal vadecha, why are you on your own? Which means I'm expecting, suppose rhetorical is the right thing, right? That's the answer. When Yisro says, why did you leave Moshe Rabbeinu outside? He's not asking them for an answer, right? He wants them to give an answer, right? So he says, madua. I don't know the whole of Tanach, but we have to check it out as we see these two words, when you use the word lama and when you use it. In modern Hebrew, you never say the madua. Modern Hebrew, because modern Hebrew is not really Hebrew. Modern Hebrew is just a European language. It is based on Hebrew roots, right? The people who designed modern Hebrew, right, were Europeans, right? So there isn't two ways to say why in English, or probably in German either. Just you work out from my question whether I want an answer. So that's why they just don't do that. So you don't say madua. Anyone says madua, they go, oh, he's speaking biblical Hebrew. Right? But it's not that. It's just that there's a nuance. There's nuance, but it's lost in modern Hebrew.
So madua is what's your opinion, lama is just...
Why? Right. So I think, like you say, lama is a rhetorical why. Because madua means I really want to know. Madua ata levadecha, why are you on your own? That's what HaMelech is scared about. Why? What's the word? What's the word? Not behoves. There's a word. Like that's not a word. It's clear. It's begging for some catastrophe. The fact that you're on your own. That really sounds like. The ish ein itach, and there's no man with you. So I suppose if I'd seen the Malbim, I'd want to know why you say these two things. That's what we call, what's it called?
Extraneous.
It is a word for it. When you repeat the same thing in different words. In poetry you do that the whole time, but people talk. They don't say, why are you on your own and there's no man with you? I mean, if you'd had a woman with you, you wouldn't be on your own. But I also wouldn't understand that. Even if you just come with your wife and have questions. Well, I don't know.
Right.
The Ish Einitach, there's no man with you. Now God's got to make an excuse. What can David say? Oh, the king's trying to kill me and I run away from the king. He clearly can't say that, because what will Achimelech do if he tells him that? If David says to Achimelech, I'm running away from the king because he wants to kill me.
He's also putting him at risk, but it's
Right.
he's going to tell the king.
Exactly. And he'd be right to tell the king. He has no reason to take side. He has no reason to judge between the king and David. David's very sweet and nice, but if the king wants to kill you, always think he's got good reason. Everyone assumes, and we even assume, Chazal assumed that Shaul is a big tzaddik.
Yeah.
Even after all that he's said done, he's still a big tzaddik, so certainly can't take sides. So David has to cover up this whole story. If you see, we don't know why he's come. We'll find in a second why he's come. Okay. So, Vayemer David l'Achimelech HaKohen. So he says to Achimelech HaKohen, HaMelech tzivani, the king commanded me. Tziva commanded, tzivani commanded me. Davar, a matter. Obviously I can't tell you because it's a big secret, right? But something, the king has commanded something. Vayomer Elai, and he said to me, Ish al yeda me'uma. A man, al means,
Upon.
that's with an ayin, with an aleph, al with an aleph, not el. El is also an aleph, right? That means two. El, God said to Moses, Yadav Hashem el Moshe. This is al with an aleph. We've had it before. It's very similar to loy, which means
To what?
loy means no. The loy with a vav means thin. Loy with an aleph means no.
Oh,
Loy, one of the 10 Commandments. Loy tirtzach, you shall not
don't.
murder. Loy tigna, you shall not sneeze. So loy means do not. Al also means do not. It's the same letters, but the other way around. So again, ask you, why are there two ways to say do not in Hebrew? Yeah. So we discussed this a few months ago. I once saw, I'd seen the week before, and the Meshech Chochmah says that when you command someone, because you're in a position to command, right? You give a command, you say loy. When you're making a suggestion, you say the word al. It should not.
As opposed to,
As opposed to commanding, but I don't know. Here he's the king, right?
you would think it would be commanded.
I would have think commanded. I'm not sure, but maybe it's not. I don't know. Al yeda me'uma. No, me'uma means something. Al yeda me'uma means no man should know anything. Me'uma means anything, something. I don't want anyone to know.
Don't tell
I
him.
mean, this is a big secret, so don't tell anybody, right? He's not commanding him. He's saying this is information that nobody is meant to find out. That's the
It could also
point.
be a Freudian slip, because obviously this story is
It could also be.
complicated.
Could be. Because it's not really true.
Yeah.
Okay. Ish al yeda me'uma. Nobody should know anything. Es hadavar. The matter. Asher that anochi sholechacha. That I am sending you. V'asher tzivi sicha. And that I commanded you. So I suppose that means no one should know where you're going or what you're going to do. And that's why I can't tell you. But that doesn't really explain why he's on his own. Well, certainly we're not going to have a big group of people because it's a big secret, right? Now,
It also stops further.
it could be, and really, at the moment you could have said he really is on his own, right? But David wants to invent, there's other people with him, but not here. I explain to you why, I'll tell you why. David is starving hungry. You know, we don't know how long he's been, right? He can't really go anywhere to ask help because anybody who helps him will be accused of treason. Because you didn't know the king wants to kill him? No, I didn't know. Yeah, sure, right? So David's been, right? So now, if he tells Achimelech, I'm hungry.
It's really public knowledge, and Achimelech would know.
Yeah, correct. It isn't really public knowledge, but Achimelech didn't know, right? But I'm not saying no, it wasn't public knowledge. But anybody who helps David
After
will be
the fact.
accused of the fact that maybe you knew. And when it comes to treason, we don't say, but maybe he didn't know. We don't give people the benefit of the doubt when it comes to treason or anarchy or any threat to the central authority. We don't give people the benefit of the doubt, right? We just have to take the whole, even more than the law, to all extreme. I mentioned this many times. Anarchy is probably the worst situation the government can get itself into. It's not even war. War is against enemies, right? It's not a problem to kill them. Anarchy is you've got your own guys,
The enemy
right?
within.
And it's like it's like civil war. It's like worse. It's not right. So therefore we don't take any chances with that. So anybody who helps David will be. So David has probably for weeks been having to scrounge from berries in the forest. We don't know. So now he wants to get as much food from HaMelech as he can. So if he tells him on his own, okay, I'll give you a loaf of bread and I'll be gone. But he wants more than that. So he has to say, I've got other men with me, and they're also hungry. But so why are they not with you then? So got to make up a whole story. Okay? So I'm on my own. That's
tell you.
right. I can't tell you why they're not with me, where I'm going, but I've got other men, but they're hiding somewhere else, and we're all starving, we all need your help. That's what he's like Ish al Yidam, what is it? Yeah. Ve'es ha'na'arim, and the lads. Na'ar is a young man. That means my helpers who are with me on this secret message. Yodati el makoim ploni el mayni. Now, yodati is also from the word ladat. Means I have made known to them. El makoim, to a place. Ploni el mayni. Now, ploni el mayni is a way of saying so and so. In English, you say so and so. Right? In Hebrew, you say, if it's a person, you say so and so. In English as well, you can say. In English, you say such and such a place.
Say John Doe. If it's
Who
not-
say?
if it's
No,
a
I
name.
think
That's American.
No, that's American English.
How do you say it in English?
You say John
John Doe just means like
John Doe?
The government's just like, oh,
There's
we
like
don't
a
know who
court
this person
case.
is. We're just naming him John Doe.
Yeah, there's like an anonymous court case, like an anonymous.
Yeah, but that's what the
Well,
government
John Doe.
We don't
does.
say.
That's not
Okay.
really.
We just say so and so.
We don't really say that either.
Right.
That's just
Anonymous,
what the government
right? So an anonymous person or anonymous place, in Hebrew you say ploni almayni. What do the words really mean? I'm not sure. Almayni is probably the word from Elaim, which means a person who can't speak. Ploni, I don't know. Probably the word from Pele, which means hidden. Anyway, that's how it's used, right? The first thing it's mentioned, I think, in the Book of Ruth, one of the guy who was supposed to redeem Ruth, so calls him Ploni Almayni. We don't know his name. So David as well is saying, we've arranged to meet, meaning I've told them and they know. That's Yodati, means I've informed them that they should know to meet me in a certain place, and they're going to meet me there, but I can't tell you where it is. Can't tell anything about them, who they are, how many they are, where we are, nothing, right? Just trust me. Okay. V'ata. So v'ata means with an ayin, means and now. Ata means now. Ma yesh tachas yodcha. Ma means what? Yesh means
There is.
there is. Tachas. Come on.
Underneath. No.
Very good.
Really?
Yes. Right?
So what?
Underneath. Right? You probably heard a Yiddish expression which is your
Took us.
tuchus, right? Which means where you sit on, right? It's your butt, right? But it comes from this Hebrew word, which is tachas. That's what it really is, right? So if you'd been Sephardi, you'd never said that because it would be tachat, right? So only because Ashkenazim pronounce a sof as a sof, right? So it's tachas, and that's what becomes your tuchus. Tuchus is underneath, because it's underneath. Well, at least when you sit down, it's underneath. What is there under your hand? I mean, what do you have in your control?
David's asking.
David asks you, what do you have? Food that you give me. What do you have? Look, in the base of English, there's a bit of a problem. Understand? In the base of English, they have food for koyanim.
Yeah.
They have korbanos, they have lechem aponim, but regular Jews are not allowed to eat those things. Only koyanim are allowed to eat those things. That's what we discuss. Right? They don't have a tuck shop, right, for people to eat. You eat before you come to the base of Mikdash. You can't bring food to the base of Mikdash. You can only bring your korbanos, right? Only koyanim are allowed to eat them. So it's a bit okay. Ma yesh tachas yodcha. What do you have under your hand? Chamisha lechem. 5 breads. Means maybe you got 5 loaves. 5 loaves of bread will be enough for us, right? Chamisha lechem, 5 loaves. Tanach, if you've got that, I don't need more than that, but if you've got, I can't carry more than that, right? But if you've got that, that'll be Tanach biyadi. Tanach means give it, biyadi, into my hand. Oy hanimtza, or that which is found. Suppose that means, what does that mean? Or found. It means even if it's not in your control, but maybe it's around in the Beis HaMikdash. I would guess that tachas yodcha, under your hand, as opposed to that which is found, means there are certain things in the Beis HaMikdash which are under your hand, which means that you're allowed to give us to eat, and other things which are here, which you're not allowed to give us to eat, but we'll eat that as well because we're so hungry. As you said, under really extenuating circumstances where a person's life is a danger, you can eat korbanos as well, just like you can eat on Yom Kippur, and you can eat pork, and you can do any aveira almost to save your life, right? Almost, right? So then you could eat korbanos as well. So that's probably what he's saying. Maybe you've got something which is tachas yodcha, in your pocket, which even I could eat, or maybe not. You've got something which is in the Beis HaMikdash, we'll eat that as well. Vayan hakoyen is David. Vayan, and he answered. The priest answered David. And he said, Ein lechem choil. There is no choil bread. Ein, there is not. Lechem, bread, you know that word. Lechem in art. Choil. Choil means?
Everyone can eat.
Correct. Choil means it's not holy. Like Chol HaMoed. It's Chol HaMoed. The non-holy days of the Pesach, right? The days in the middle, they're slightly holy, but they're not regular weekdays. So Chol means not holy. There's no non-holy bread, el tachas yodi, which is under my hand. I mean, I've got no bread that I can give you, which is not holy. Ki im lechem kodesh. Ki im, that means but.
So,
Yeah, im usually means but, right? Meaning except. Lechem kodesh, there's only holy bread. I've got holy bread, which I'm prepared to give you if you guys are really starving, which David obviously either looked like or claimed. He probably looked starving as well.
how much is he really allowed to take though? Because after you
He's
eat
on the run.
bread,
He
you know,
might not-
As much as he'll need until
when?
yeah, and when he finds a shop that's, a loaf of bread sitting outside, he'll take that instead of the
He
lechem.
doesn't know
He-
when
He'll
that's.
let-
So he'll take as much as he doesn't know. So he'll take whatever he can
He'll
carry.
steal
He can
bread.
only, for sure. If he's allowed to eat a carbon and eat pork to save his life, he can't steal to save your life. I mean, he's lying to save his life as well, but that's okay. All these things are okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. Right? Yeah, steal, eat korbanos, absolutely. You have to, if you steal to save your life, you have to intend to pay back.
Yeah.
It doesn't exempt you from paying back, right? But David said, so he's prepared. The Kohen says, "I'm prepared to give you. I don't have any. If I had non-holy bread, I'd give it to you. But I've only got holy bread. What's holy bread mean? Could mean several things. Right to the simple case of, because there are holy breads which are like a person who's bringing a carbon taida or a nozim, but those are unusual, right? The normal standard holy bread is the lechem haponim, which is the show bread, right? The 12 loaves which are on the table inside the main building of the temple, and they were changed every Shabbos, and only the Kohen could eat it. I'm prepared to give that to you if you're really starving, but on one condition. Ki im lechem kodesh yesh, that means there is holy bread. Yesh means there is holy bread. If means I'll give it to you if. Nishmaru hana'arim ach me'isha. Nishmaru from the word shomer means guard, right? So nishmaru means they were guarded. The nun is what we call in Hebrew nifal. Nifal means passive. Passive means when you're describing an action, not
Being
from the
done.
person doing it, but from the person that's being acted upon. So, im nishmaru, if they were guarded, hana'arim, the lads, ach me'isha, only from women or a woman, means
They're pure.
lads. Na'ar is a young man.
Oh, that.
Right, it usually means a person of teenage. That's what it usually means, but it can be older as well. A person who acts youthful will also be called a na'ar. A young girl is called a na'ara. A young boy is called a na'ar. Na'arim are the lads. So if the lads have been careful from women, means a man touching a woman doesn't make you tameh, But if you have sexual relations with a woman, it makes you tameh.
Also Leader.
That's another problem, but that would be an avera. Understand?
Yeah.
No. There's no reason to think the Kohen does not suspect David's men of doing averas, right? I mean, that's allowed. It doesn't mean that. It probably means, right, that if if a man has sexual relations with a nida, then he becomes tameh for a week. If he has normal sexual relations, he's tameh for a day, right?
For the rest of the day or for 24
No, for the rest of the next day. For the rest of the day, he goes to mikveh straight away, and then in the evening, that's the first Mishnah in Brachos. The first Mishnah is when do Kohanim come to eat truma, right? When they get dark, and they go to mikveh during the day, and then by nightfall they can eat truma. So the same thing. Your men, if presumably your men are married, right? And they might be married, and if they married and have a regular seminal discharge, right, which can happen in different ways, but whichever way happens, it makes you tameh, right? And then I can't give them that, I can't let them eat that. Now this is fascinating because it's weird.
It's still to save their life.
Exactly. It would seem that it's just as forbidden for a non-kohen to eat lechem upon him, whether he's tameh or tahor. Like, what's the difference? In any case, he's not allowed to because he's non-kohen. You're so worried about him being tameh. I don't really know the answer to that. I presume, yes, if you were really going to die, then even if you were tameh, we'd let you do it.
So,
But maybe there's something like in between, and you're really that sick. You can have a state where I can wait another 5 minutes and I'll try it out. Understand? You have to eat on Yom Kippur. It's a big deal to eat on Yom Kippur. I'll try it. So some situations, there's no question. There's no question. If you don't eat now, you're going to die, right? So then we'll do anything, right? Machal Shabbos, eat whatever you want, right? But there's certain situations where certain averas will do. So it looks like the eating something when you're tameh is like an extra avera, and that I don't trust. We'll get a doctor's opinion to find out whether you're really that starving before we give it to you. But the lechem upon him, that we can give you. That's what it sounds like. It's a bit difficult to understand, but I don't really see another way to read it. If the boys or the lads have been careful with their relationship with women, right, then I'll give it to you because you're starving. And if not, you'll have to prove to me that you're really that hungry for me to give it to you for that time. Because Kohanim are very, very fussy about the laws of Tumah.
Which is their job to be, because they're fine.
Okay, so pay indicates that that's the end of the first part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it looks like it's not a natural continuation. Maybe David had to think about this, I'm not sure. And David answered the priest. David answered, and he said to him, Ki im isha atsura lanu. But women were atsura lanu. Now, atsura is a word which...
Sorry.
No, it's not with tsar. No. It could be tsar. How would you explain it with the ayin at the beginning?
I don't know.
You can't move the ayin. The word tsar has an ayin in the middle. Right? Tzadi, ayin, resh. Ayin, tzadi, resh. Ayin, tzadi, resh. Anyone ever heard the word? Atzar.
Stop.
Very good. How'd you know?
Like buses.
Right, good. Right, the stop sign on the bus. Okay? But what does it mean yes, exactly what it means. There's a festival coming up in 5.5 weeks' time. Right? What's it called?
Shavuot?
Shavuot. The Torah doesn't call it Shavuot.
What's it called? Chag
Atzeres.
Atzeres.
Atzeres. It says you will count 7 weeks, and then you will have a festival called Atzeres.
That's why we call it Shavuot.
Good question. It's got lots of names. We're going to call it B'Chag Bikurim, as well. We should be about to learn Bikurim in the next class, right? Because we came on to Shavuot. Atzeres means stop. Means it's a festival where all you do is stop. It's not like Pesach, where you don't just stop. Pesach, you also stop, in the sense you stop work. But Pesach, you eat matzah, and you have Korban Pesach. On Sukkot, you sit in the Sukkah. On Rosh Hashanah, you blow the shofar, right? Yeah. But this is a chag where all you do is stop. And there's nothing to do on Shavuos. There's nothing to do on Shavuos. Cheesecake, right? So that's a nice custom, right? And people stay up all night. But as far as the Torah is concerned, you just do nothing. You just stop.
What about Yom Kippur?
Yom Kippur is also like that in a sense.
Because you just
Yom
stop.
Kippur is more than that. It's not just stop. It's also a whole day of fasting. Right?
Tired,
Yeah, it's more than that. You stop eating as well,
You
right?
stop eating.
Yeah, super stop. Okay, so there's another fast called Atzeres, which is another festival called Atzeres, which is
Shmini Atzeret.
almost the 8th day of Sukkot. We have 7 days of Sukkot where we take the
You
lulav,
don't
we sit in the
even- you don't
sukkah,
have to sit in the
and
sukkah.
then, right? Exactly, because it's not really Sukkot anymore. It says, and on the 8th day, Atzeres tiyeh lachem. There'll be another stop. Means another day where you do nothing. Because that's really we do nothing. What do we do on Shmini Atzeres? Nothing. And we dance around the Sefer with the Sefer Torah, but also, later developments, customs. Biblically, you do nothing on Shmini Atzeres. So that's what it says, means to stop. To stop. So he's saying, ki im isha atzura lanu. Women were stopped to us. So what he's trying to say is, you can trust me, we've had nothing to do with women the last few days, right? And therefore no one's taught me. Everyone's had a chance to go to the mikveh and become ritually pure since the last time they had relations.
I don't know, does he smell like he's been to the mikveh at least?
You don't smell good outside mikvah.
The guy has been in the woods for however long.
No, you only smell when you go to the mikveh because the mikveh has chlorine in it.
Yeah.
Understand? If you go, that's
No,
like
I'm
a
saying
modern
back-
development.
No, I'm
Back
saying
then-
back then they used the river and stuff like that.
Exactly, you don't smell like a river. River's clean.
Exactly. They smell clean. Does he stink like he's been?
Ah, no. They went to the mikveh last time they had relations. That was 3-4 days ago.
Okay.
They've been on the run since then. Right? Okay. Ki im at isha atzura. Women have been blocked or closed or stopped from us. Kismail shilshaim. Kismail from yesterday, shilshaim the day before. The normal way to say yesterday is etmol. That's how you say it, right? But if you say yesterday and the day before, you often take out the aleph. Kitmol, like, it means approximately from yesterday. Maybe some people had 2.5 days ago, but approximately people have been away from their wives 2 or 3 days, approximately 2 or 3 days, and therefore there's nothing to worry about because they've all had a chance to go to the mikveh since then. When I left, because nobody has been at home for the last 2 or 3 days, so they hadn't had a chance to be with their wives at that time. Vayiyu klei hana'arim kodesh. Vayiyu, and they were, what was? Klei hana'arim. Klei, the vessels or utensils of the lads, kodesh, they're holy. Means you might be worried that, okay, they haven't had relations with their wives. What about their saddles or their bags or their plates or their knives? Maybe they're all tamei. No, kodesh. Holy here probably doesn't mean holy in that sense. It means ritually pure, and therefore they're allowed to eat holy things with them. Okay, so that's okay. Okay. Now we get to a difficult part of the pasuk. V'hu derech chayil, and it is on the way to being profane. I'll translate it. I'll explain what it means in a second. The afki, and even if hayoim yikdash bakeli, if today it had been sanctified in the utensil. Now, what he's trying to say, I believe, is as follows. David's saying the bread that you want to offer to me is already been removed from the shulchan.
Last week.
And therefore, it's already got a certain leniency. It's true that only kohanim are allowed to eat it, generally, but it's not as bad, it's not as forbidden as lechem aponim, which is meant to be on the shulchan. Lechem aponim during the week, which is meant to be on the table, is forbidden even for kohanim.
Don't they eat it right away?
You have to.
No. They make it on Friday, right? They put it on the shulchan on Shabbos, and then they eat it the next Shabbos. It's already a week old when they eat it.
Delicious.
No, it's 10 days. No, it's made on Friday. It's put on the next day.
Yeah.
Then they take off last week's, but it's still. Rashi says miraculously it was still warm, as if it just come out of the oven, even though it was more than a week on the table. So during the week it's on the table, it's even forbidden for kohanim to eat. So David is saying like this, that the lechem aponim that you want to give me has already been taken off the shulchan, so it's permitted for kohanim. So it's not that bad. It really had 3 prohibitions. If it had been on the shulchan, to take lechem upon it's forbidden for Kohanim. It's certainly forbidden for Yisraelim. It's even more certainly forbidden to Yisraelim who are tamei. So David said, the problem of Tumah, there's not a problem because they're all tar, they're not being with their wives, the things they intend to use to eat it with, their plates and knives and forks, are all being put in the mikvah. The problem of the fact that we're Yisraelim, we can't do that, we were hungry. But I want you to know that we're so hungry that even if it'd been on the shulchan, I would have had a right to eat it. That's what he's trying to say. The truth is we don't even have that problem. He's saying, Vahu, and this bread that we want to eat, which by the way wasn't halachically bread, it was halachically matzah, but it's called lechem all the same. Derech chol, it's on the journey of being somewhat chol. Ve'af ki, but even if hayoim yikdash bakeli, even if it had been sanctified in the utensil, means it had been put on the shulchan today, we still would have been allowed to eat it because we're really, really hungry, much more than you can imagine, right? Because it's hard to imagine why should one be so hungry? Like any mission, right? It's why are you so hungry? Okay, how big is Eretz Yisrael? You're not being like lost for the weeks. You're not being lost. You're just on a journey, right? Okay, you can't tell anyone you couldn't bring provisions with you. It's hard to believe how hungry David could really be. The real truth is, can't go anywhere. You can't get food from anybody. She could have been weeks and weeks without anything to eat, and is eating, grass and berries. I've always been eating. So, but David can't explain why that should be. So it's hard for him to believe. So don't go to teach you. Go believe me. I'm telling you, I'm very, very, very hungry. And if you don't give me this here, I'm going to die. And they're so hungry that even though if I was Tomei, and even though I'm not a Kohen, and even if the lechem upon it was on the table, I would still have a right to eat it. Okay, so that's what he did. Eat had Kohen, and the Kohen gave Kodesh. He gave him the holy bread. Ki loy hayasham lechem. There was not their bread. Ki im lechem haponim. Only the, what we call the show bread, literally means the face bread. Not sure why it's called that. I'm about to learn the Daf Yomi. Tomorrow we're going to start the period that talks about lechem haponim, right? I think it's because it was open in a way you could see through it. Most bread, you look at it, all you can see is bread. The lechem haponim was made
square. It's like a square that's hollow.
It was hollow, right? It was open. It was like a box with two sides missing. So I could see you at the other side. I could see your face if I looked. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, it's called lechem haponim. It's what we call the show bread. That's the only bread he had, and that's what he gave him. Hamusarim, which had been removed. Not from the word musar. Musar is from the word to chastise. When you learn Musa, a Musa Seder, you will learn Mesilas Yesharim, right? You're learning yourself how you should behave and try and better yourself. That's called Musa. That's from the word Yud Samach Rish. This is from the word Sur. Sur Meira Va'aseitayv. Hi, Shalom Aleichem. Yisrael. Okay? Sur. Like, Mi Aish, you know the song? Mi Aish, you know the song? Sur Meira Va'asei Tov means turn away from bad and do good. So Musarim means they had been moved away. They'd been taken. We're talking about the bread which had been moved off the shulchan. Mi lifnei Hashem, from being in front of God. What's in front of God? Well, everything's in front of God, right? But in this context, it means that shulchan, the table which was in the Mishkan is considered in front of God, because behind the table you have the Holy of Holies. So the table's in front of God. The bread had been removed from being in front of God. Mm-hmm. Why did they remove it? Lasum, to place. Lasum means to place. Lechem chaim. Lechem, bread, chaim.
Sweet.
Warm. Warm, very good. You're doing very well today, Dylan. Right? That's the third thing. Chaim is warm. Usually you say cham, right? But it's the same word, right? Right? So, by the way, the color brown. How do you say brown in Hebrew?
No.
Chum. Chum is brown. Because often you go out in the sun, you go brown. Right? So the heat, although it's not true, the heat actually makes you red. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you're done healing from the sun, you're
so it's actually reddish brown probably. Okay, so lechem chaim, which means the reason why they removed the bread was so they could put on the new bread, because the fresh bread, which had been baked yesterday,
not be eaten.
Right. So it looks like this story happened on Shabbos, right? Which is surprising. I mean, Achim was like, David, in the middle of Shabbos afternoon, turns up in the Mishkan. Like, that's another reason why, although it doesn't say that in the story, but it's so we know they used to change the lechem hapanim on Shabbos. And it had to be eaten before the end of the day. So it must have been that this was happening on a Shabbos afternoon. Okay? Lasumlet, to place the hot bread beyond Hilachai on the day that it was taken off. So it taken it off, and you put new fresh bread on the same day. That bread was the bread that he gave to David HaMelech, not Melech, to David to eat for him and all his starving, made-up comrades, which didn't exist, right? But that's all part of the story that David made up. Okay, to save his life, so he'll have some bread until he can find something somewhere else. Okay, Pasuk Ches. V'sham, and there, Ish, there is a man, may Avdei Shaul, of the servants of Shaul. Bayamahu, on that day, just happened to be one of Shaul's men in the Mishkan. What was he doing there? Ne'etzar. Same word, Ne'etzar from...
Nate.
No, that's without the ayin. Ne'etzar, come on. Daniel, you worked out before. Atzar, stop. Ne'etzar, the nun is the nifa, means he was stopped. Means he was stuck there. Or he decided to take a break from his royal duties as being a servant of the king, and he'd taken a sabbatical week, month, year, I don't know, and he'd try to take time off to stay in the Mishkan and see what goes there. So he was obviously a very spiritual man, and he wanted to grow spiritually, and that's why he came to the Mishkan. And he just happened to be there. In front of God, means he wanted to grow spiritually. He wanted to be in God's presence. So it's not so easy when you're out in other places. If you go to the Mishkan, you'll feel that closeness. That's what he wanted to do. Ushmai Dayeg HaAdaimi. What was his name? Dayeg HaAdaimi. Now, have we met Dayeg HaAdaimi before? I don't think we've met him in person. According to Chazal, he's actually been mentioned in the text a few times, but his name never appeared. According to Chazal, he was the one who provided the information to Shaul when Shaul was looking for someone to take away his bad spirit. And he wanted to look for someone who would play music. So he said, yes, Yishai has a son and he's very capable, and he gave a whole list of things. According to Chazal, it was Doeg.
So he's very familiar.
Yeah, he knows David, yes. When David went out to fight Goliath, so according to Chazal, it doesn't say this in the story, according to Chazal, Shaul was a bit concerned about that this David may be his nemesis, I think is the word, the guy who's, he's the one who's going to take over from him, his rival, right, very good. Rival is the right word. And so, so he says to check out, come on.
His lineage.
Progeny. Yeah. Obviously a predecessor. Progeny, right. Okay. Anyway, the point. Okay, he was also the one who said that maybe David isn't fit to be king because he's descended from Ruth. That was a whole discussion over there. Right. So according to Chazal, that was also Doeg. Okay? So Doeg, I say Doeg has appeared twice in the story without a name. Now he comes a name. Okay. Who is he? Adoimi. Sounds like he's an Edomite. Now that could literally an Edomite convert. It could be a guy who was descended from Edomite converts. It could be he lived in Edom and he'd been Jewish. Just like all you guys are Americans. That doesn't mean you're not Jewish. It just means you lived in America. No, right? It means you lived in America, right? So he lived in Edom. Why would a Jew live in Edom? Why would a Jew live in America? Okay, it's a bit different. I appreciate it's slightly different because here there was David HaMelech, there was Shaul, and there was a Mishkan. But why do people? There's the state of Israel today, right? So why do people live in America? It's a good question. If you're a Zionist, it's a big question. Why are you a Zionist and live in America? Because it's comfortable, right?
The second base of Mikdash, people lived in Boston.
Yeah, correct. So, but it's hard to believe that people in the first base of Mikdash did, but I don't know, it could be. So the fact it calls him Adami doesn't necessarily mean he was an Edomite, right? But it probably does. That was the most obvious meaning. I'm just saying it's not conclusive. Yeah? The appellation. Okay. So this Doeg, that's his name. Abir Haroim Asher Shaul. Abir is a word that means, in modern Hebrew, it means a knight. You coming for the Mishnah class?
Yeah.
You're welcome, come in. We'll start in the 2 seconds. Abir means a knight with a K. As in a knight of shining armor, knight with his lance. Okay? That's a knight. That's what it means in modern Hebrew. Okay? In classical Hebrew, it means something similar to that, but it's obviously doesn't. It means some type of very no more than that. A knight is not just a guard. A knight is very aristocratic. Is that the word?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, very.
They are of the aristocratic class.
Yeah, that sort of look. They're not just a regular soldier.
No.
Right. So that's what it means. So he was the haroim. Now a ro'eh is with an ayin, no with an aleph. Ro'eh with an ayin. Come on, there's so many things it could mean. It could mean bad. To see is with an aleph. Right. With an ayin can mean bad, like ra. It can mean a friend, like reyacha. V'ahavta l'reyacha kamoicha. It can mean weak, which is ra'ua. But it doesn't mean any of that, unfortunately. It means a shepherd.
Oh, that's right.
Right?
Isn't that with
Mizmar David, Hashem, no, it's with an ayin.
What? I thought the whole thing road son is
Is it with an ayin?
watcher of the sheep.
So you made a mistake. What can I do? Doesn't mean that. That's what you thought.
So
Doesn't
what
mean
does
that.
road mean?
It means a shepherd.
He's a watcher.
Have a look. No, he doesn't mean a watcher. It means a shepherd. No. It's true that shepherds watch sheep and they see them, but it's not. No, a roed son is with an ayin. Hashem ro'i lo echsa. The Lord is my shepherd. Psalm 23, right? The Lord is my shepherd. I will not go missing.
So road son,
Yeah, with an aleph. A roed son's with an aleph. Correct. Okay. So he's the head of the shepherds. That's a really weird title. Asher Shaul. Shaul had sheep. You might Shaul was a king, right? No, maybe maybe king had sheep too.
Why not?
Why not? I don't know. But King Charles III, or whatever his name is, right, doesn't have sheep.
You don't think he owns any sheep? He's a wealthy man.
Yes, but he has a Rolls Royce. He has a collection of cars. Maybe. Look, if you'd be the head of his horses, I could appreciate actually. Melech had horses. That's a royal thing. That's stables. Kings had sheep.
Of course.
Kings had sheep.
When
When was the last king you know was mentioned had sheep?
Was
Yeah,
mentioned
but
sheep.
when
Doesn't
when
mention
was the
it,
last
but
king you
they-
said?
So maybe they did.
Kings have everything, and
Yeah,
of
I would
No, Charles III does not have sheep.
course he does.
Yeah, he has sheep.
Of course. Why wouldn't he have sheep? He has everything.
I'm going to go to Google.
I would assume he had sheep.
Where does he have sheep exactly? What does he do with them?
Okay,
Well, on Balmoral, yes, I suppose there's
What
a
about-
few wild sheep
Okay,
on Balmoral escape in
Wait,
northern
wasn't
Scotland.
he was a shepherd?
In the modern day, it's different, but back then,
Yeah,
sheep
he owned
meant
sheep.
clothing. Sheep.
How many
They
sheep?
still mean
Probably-
clothing
probably
today.
owns a lot of
Doesn't
sheep.
sheep?
to
Kings have no
3,000.
other
Rabbi,
thing.
wasn't he a
2,000 to
shepherd
3,000
before?
sheep.
Really? King Charles owns 2,000 to 3,000 sheep?
2,000 to 3,000 sheep in his private estate in
Yeah, in Norfolk.
Norfolk.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce
Okay,
it?
but he's not. Okay, I hear. All right. All right. I admit Kings have sheep. All right. No, yes, Paro had sheep. Because Paro said to Yosef, when Yosef said, my brothers are shepherds, he says, oh, maybe you brothers are good shepherds. I'll even put them on my sheep. Yeah? I appreciate it. Yes, also Mesha, the king of Moab, he was known as the sheep king.
It's a form of currency as well.
He lived in.
No, that was probably big. No, he really was a sheep. He was very, very much in the sheep. Okay, all right. Just like, yeah. So this was his title. He was the head of the shepherds, not just a regular shepherd, right? He was the Abir. He was the knight of the shepherd. He was the main shepherd. Asher Shaul of Shaul. Okay, could be. Chazal don't like this chat, although it could be. That was his position. He was the main, yeah. And right, Chazal say, you see, when God is a shepherd, yeah, and Moshe Rabbeinu is a shepherd. Yeah, they're not just shepherds in the sense they look after sheep. They also look after God's people. That's why God picked Moshe Rabbeinu. He said, "You know how to look after the sheep so well." You know the story with the sheep who ran off, and Moshe Rabbeinu ran after him until he found it, and he needed some water. He picked him up and took him out. Right? That was like the final decision of God to pick Moshe Rabbeinu to be the leader, because so a shepherd is a quality which is very important for leadership.
I was a shepherd.
You were a shepherd? Oh wow.
And the road son isn't just sheep, it's also goats.
What is not just?
Road son. Road son is sheep and goats.
Oh, sheep and goats, right, correct. But the word ro'eh doesn't have to be sheep. When I say Lord is my shepherd, it's true we're using that as a what's the word? A simile, right? But like I say, Moshe Rabbeinu was the shepherd of the Jewish people. So it could mean that as well. It doesn't have to be ro'eh son. It could mean that Chazal actually say that this doeg was the head of the Sanhedrin. That's what it means. Abir Haroim. Abir Haroim means the knight. The leading shepherd means he was the leader of the Jewish people in a spiritual sense, and that's why he's taken it.
Shaul, what does that say? Shaul.
Good question. No.
That's
That means
a
of
very-
Shaul's inner ministers.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. But that's why it makes sense that he's hanging out at the base of Mikdash. But he happens to be there. Okay, we'll have to stop now. By the way, I think that the Baba Sally's
Yard site?
No. His book that he wrote is called Abir Haroim, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the name of one of his books, based on this pasuk, which would make sense if it's related to the Sanhedrin, but not if he was just a shepherd. Not really. Without any.
He held the chazal.
Yeah, truly. Okay. All right, we'll leave it at that until tomorrow.